Hi, my name is Bron Foxx, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Disabilities Resource Centre Trust in the Bay of Plenty. It's my pleasure today to share with you some insights about transitions, or specifically the transition contract when people leave school. One of the important things about transition is that there are lots of them in our lives. Going to school for the first time, leaving primary school and going to high school, and then a big one when we leave high school and come out into the community. It is really important that supporting young people as they leave school is that we get it right and we follow best practice. Some of that is about allowing the person to direct the process, making sure we're involving parents, families, and whānau, getting information on post-school options, and working in partnership with those organisations already doing this in the community. So, who is eligible for this funded service? So, it is anybody aged between 16 and 21 who is currently funded by OARS. And just in case you didn't know, OARS is the ongoing resourcing scheme that supports people during their time at school. You need to be a provider to deliver a transition service and contracted to the Ministry of Social Development. In order to get onto the service, a provider needs to give the MSD or Ministry of Social Development your name, date of birth, and your OARS number, and they approve, and then off you go. We're into the service. One of the things about government funding and government contracting is they use lots of big words and lots of terminology to say really simple things. So transition and a transition plan or service is about setting goals, making decisions, and thinking about what you're going to do next. So all of the words on that particular slide talk about that, and making sure that there's ways of checking that progress is being made, or that you are getting an opportunity to experience lots of different options. Some of the options can be employment or vocational, how you get money or your financial arrangements, where you're living or how you're living, maybe cultural and religious supports, further education opportunities. For example, if you wanted to go off and do some training, go to university or polytech or a provider training. Recreation and leisure, going swimming, meeting up with a group. Advocacy arrangements around helping you get support to work with other agencies or government agencies and understanding. Support around friendships, sexuality and relationships. Transport and community access and disability support services you can access when you leave school. A transition plan is not a short process. It is a living document that is designed to give you a plan moving forward. So what we can do is that this is a bit about how we facilitate a plan. So basically, it's all about getting to know you, your family, what you like, what you don't like. And actually, that may be more than one meeting. Some of it might be an ongoing relationship that we might meet 4 or 5 times so that we really understand what you would like to do. It might be a series of pictures or a number of words that talk about the possibilities, your hopes and your dreams for both you as the client or student and your family or whānau or guardians. It's really important to not get 58 goals, because sometimes that can be really overwhelming. And maybe you have 3 or 4 to start off with. What you also want to think about is where you want to be in the future. What supports do you need to get there? And a lot of it is about being really honest about how you get things done. I know for lots of families, the transition process is incredibly stressful, and it can be quite difficult when somebody leaves school after being in an institution for 6.5 hours a day and then effectively comes out into the community. So for families, it's about being realistic about what support and what activities and what will make things happen. I wanted to give you an idea and talk about a particular story. And I'm sorry that there's an enormous amount of words on this page. But what I thought I would do is kind of give you a bit of an overview about how people can be part of a plan and what's really important, and we're talking about somebody's story. So as you can see from this one, this student lives with their foster mum and dad in Whakatane. Oh, look at that lovely spelling mistake. Should say high school and not high school, but there we go. That's good spotting in a presentation always, isn't it? This student left school at the end of 2023, and they needed quite a lot of support at school. So they needed transport, they needed a safety plan, and a quiet sensory place to manage their behaviour. This client has very limited communication skills. However, is able to communicate really well to the people that know her. She is autistic, and noise level and the nature of the noise are very important. It's also interesting, she loves drum, bass and reggae music, and particularly drums, I should add. So is frequently listening, even in a quiet place, to headphones. So there you go. Over the last few years, life has revolved around school and home. Routines have been established that are really, really important to keep this client student well and safe. She gets significant anxiety when routines are changed. And this student has been given high OARS funding while at school, and this will effectively move into the community. So there's something I should just explain, that the OARS funding can follow a student into the community, and it's slightly separate from a transition service. So a transition service is really about developing a plan and outcomes for somebody leaving school. What may happen is that OARS funding turns into VHN funding. Don't you love government terms that are very complicated? So VHN is for very high needs, and that funding can follow somebody into the community. Again, that's negotiated with MSD. So this client was able to take their OARS funding into the community. At times, she needs 2 people to support her. So that's really important, particularly while trying something new. And again, this client can't transport themselves or be alone at an activity. She will enjoy, as things progress, less active support. So one of the things that we have established is that there are always 2 support workers when this student is working out in the community. One of the things about a transition process, as I said earlier, is about levels of engagement. So for some people, it actually might take some time for their calendar to become full, because they might just try 1 or 2 activities in the week. You'll note that this client needs assistance with toileting, and actually that would be funded separately to transition. But all of these things dovetail, and it's really important that people understand the packages of help that would be available, and making sure that you're working with your local needs assessment service coordination agency to get the right support. So one of the things this client absolutely loves is horse riding at RDA and also swimming. So we've actually been able to make that happen as part of her routine. However, this client sometimes decides that she doesn't really want to do swimming again. So it's left alone, and then we try it again next week. So some of the routines need to be really flexible. As you can see, as part of her transition plan, she came and did music at the DRC, and she also did dance, because those are some of the programs that we offer as part of our vocational service. So she enjoyed both of those activities, participating in music and learning how to use instruments. And our dance program focuses on hip hop, and given the type of music that she loved, that was a bit of a winner as well. So she had a taster of that in her transition and has now enrolled as a participant in that. Now she's out of school. So some of the stuff you can do tasters while you're at school, so you get a real understanding of what you like and what actually you don't like. And that's what transition is all about. Having a go and going, no, that's not for me. The student also loves working on and looking at YouTube, loves playing games. So that's also got to be some of the stuff that's included in her program. This client worships at the local Kingdom Hall, and that's what we've got to facilitate as well. She's really hopeful that she can meet up with some of the friends she had at Trident, the high school, and that she has regular social activities with her friends. She really focused a lot on having routines that she didn't want to change. So the transition program was really important to make sure that she felt routines were still in place. What I wanted to show you is the timetable that we came up with as a starting point for her transition. So she'd go to RDA and swimming, going walking, go on a bus ride, have a walk at the Hopi Beach, and grab a coffee at a cafe, have coffee with a friend, or do some baking with a friend, visit the library. But also periods of time to relax at home, attend music, attend dance, and maybe go swimming again. So you'll see that it's a loose program, but it also is quite structured. And I believe that's really important for people moving forward. Of course, these aren't the only options that people can pick. They might choose to go off with another provider, say, for example, who have a driving course or a vocational activity that actually the client is wanting. One of the examples we had of a couple of volunteer things that people were doing was two transition clients were volunteering at the SPCA with support. Another client was, believe it or not, running a stoat trapping line in a Kiwi protected area. So with support, she would go out and check stoat traps, 12 stoat traps to protect the Kiwi in that area. Absolutely loved it. So it's not limited. It's only limited by what you can think you might want to do. I also wanted to show you a different kind of transition plan. Now you'll see that this client has an independent living service in the morning, and that's another contract that I would recommend that people think about, because that's another area where you can have a paid support worker with you to access those community activities. As you can see, this client is again doing RDA, but they're also doing musical theatre. They work on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Monday afternoons. They're doing 2 lots of art. They're playing soccer. They go to church. They're learning carpentry and doing dance. And they're part of the bocce pool group that meets at the RSA once a week. I have to say, I'm a bit envious of this timetable. I think I'd quite like to do a number of these activities, but you can see that the aim is for people to be in the community. One of the philosophies of the service that I believe is really important is community participation. And when we talk about community participation, it's community participation set up with support. So it's making sure that people can be part of church, be part of a soccer group, be part of the local musical theatre. And so in our vocational service, we contract with the local theatre to run a musical theatre group. So it's an open group, but some of our clients attend it. So it's about inclusion at its utmost level, that actually we are supporting people to access things in their community. And eventually the hope is that actually some of our clients can do that independently, because that's the ultimate aim for family, whānau, and for the clients that we serve, that it is really independent. I also wanted to show you actually how we report on outcomes, so that actually it's understanding what we try to do and what we feed back. So in this one, there's some employment, transport, and independent living. So for example, in the employment area, we've been working on trying to get this person some paid opportunities at both New World and at Riding for Disabled. Sometimes it's hard because you have to wait for other agencies. So one of the problems is that often agencies can't work with somebody until they've left school. So what we keep doing is that we make sure when the person's left school that we keep working with it. So in this case, they're trying to carry on to get this client into those pieces of work or opportunity or volunteer opportunities. The independent transport is really exciting. So this client was accessed and given a bus card. In the Bay of Plenty, our regional council provides a B card, which means that a person with a disability actually can travel on a bus service with a very, very highly subsidised amount. But what's even cooler is that their support person rides for free. So that is something that is pretty exciting for people accessing services. And also that somebody accesses the transport service independently. Again, it's about skill development and learning how to manage that. In this case, with this client, independent living was also focusing on life skills at home. So it was teaching about how to cook, how to do basic laundry, cleaning, dishes, shopping, menu planning, and money handling. This client got 18 hours a week for an independent living service to support her engagement, and she is now doing the household shopping with support. So transition leads on to some really exciting things if you stay with it and you can envisage it. So when this report was written, SIL was only just starting, so we were pretty confident that things were going to be really great moving forward. One of the things about transition that actually is difficult is the reality, though, is you're not going to get 6.5 hours of transition every day, 5 days a week. But exploring meaningful activities and a calendar that supports families is really important. Can I also say that working with a number of providers is really important? For a long time, we as providers really only thought about working within ourselves. But we have to be really realistic that there are really cool activities happening in our community from lots of other places. So what we should be doing as providers is sharing information about what other people are doing. I'd really encourage those of you who have a disability resource centre or a disability information centre to go and find out what information they have about transition providers or vocational activities. Information for families and whānau is absolutely paramount. And my suggestion for any of you is thinking about a transition service the year before the last year of school. Wheels turn incredibly slowly in this sector. So I would be starting a discussion perhaps in October or November, the year before the last year of school. And I think that's really important because it can take a year for a transition plan to be worked through and to be effective. I would really encourage you to go into a transition process with lots of questions. Because the more questions you've got, often that makes planning and moving through this process much easier, because the reality is you don't know what you don't know. And remember, there's that wonderful saying, the only stupid question is the one you didn't ask. I think the other thing, and this again is probably considered, not really considered amongst providers, but pick the one that's right for you. Pick the provider that works the best for you and your family. Because you have to have a trusted relationship, and you can't do it if you don't trust the people that you're doing it with. So shop around. Shop around and make a choice. And one of the things that we as an agency, but I know nationally, the focus is on information, choice, and independence. Transition in the Eastern Bay of Plenty is tiny. We've had 3 clients in the last year, so it's not a big service, but I know in other locations around the country it will be much bigger. There are significant issues sometimes with transitions because of family stuff. You know, we have a range of whānau carers or guardians or welfare guardians. So it doesn't matter who people choose as their supports or people who are involved in the planning. As far as we're concerned, the more the better. So in a nutshell, a transition plan will plan out what you're doing next. It will take into account all of the things you're thinking about, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, and how you're going to meet the challenges. It should help you identify funding streams of accessing other services, be they other community organisations, community groups, funding from Ministry of Social Development, or from your NASC. I'm really happy to sit and answer some questions with you. I hope that this has been insightful, and I'd really love to have your feedback. Thank you.